ever doubts that I mean what I say, the problem is sometimes I say all that I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, in full disclosure, Terry just acknowledged or pointed out the real reason I'm here. He's going to be my wife's boss. And I'm scared to death that if I wasn't here, I'd be in real trouble. I may go home and sleep alone. Look, first of all, let me thank the Rodriguez family. Can you imagine how they felt? They said, do you mind having a little thing in your backyard on Monday morning? Means you got to get up at 2 in the morning and clear the house out. And Secret Service is moving in, and but they did it anyway. So the Rodriguezes, thank you all very much. And you know what? You know that old expression that's overused, but it's true in the southern part of my state and many parts of your state. They talk about marrying up. This boy did marry up, my God. When he turns to introduce his wife, I always think it's his daughter. And his beautiful family. And besides, he got an all-American son who's about to, in the next 20 years, become CNO of the United States Navy, who is in the Naval Academy right now, and probably tearing his hair out, wondering why he can't be out knocking on doors with you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that it's a great pleasure to be here with Gerry Connolly. I used to work for Gerry. He was on my staff for years, but I always thought I worked for him. And he's turned out to be just a great congressman in spite of working on my staff. There's not much you can say about Mark Warner. I've been doing this a long time. I did pretty well in my home state of Delaware. I got elected 7 times and remained relatively popular, but I've never been in any state, and I mean this sincerely, where everything is measured. I mean this, now think about this, where the success of public officials in the state are measured against the standard of whether or not they live up to the standard of Mark Warner. It's pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing phenomenon. And, I haven't known Terry as long as Mark has known him, but I've known him for a long time. But as that old saying goes, I knew him before I knew him. And by that I mean, I went to school. My deceased wife was from Syracuse, New York. And I went to school in Syracuse. And I lived right next to Terry's neighborhood. So although I didn't know the McAuliffes, I knew the McAuliffes. I know the neighborhood. I mean this sincerely. It's a neighborhood of hard-working people. It's all about neighbors, loyalty, work, and responsibility. That's what it's about. I mean, it's real. It is like you can taste it. And Syracuse has been through some tough times. People up there have seen tough times, and they reward people who are responsible. These are the same basic roots that run very deep in this great state of Virginia. It doesn't matter what the accent is. It matters what the accent is on. And the accent's it's always been, I really mean this about where he comes from. I'm not joking. It's all about responsibility. It's all about responsibility. And, but I want to make it clear, I'm not just here for Terry. I'm not here just because I'm a Democrat. I'm here because this race matters well beyond the state of Virginia. Well beyond the state of Virginia. And folks, that's not hyperbole. That's the God's truth. This race has captured the attention of the entire nation, not just because it's an all-weather race in a bellwether state that has become sort of the face of the new progress in this country, but because it's the first major race between the forces and faces of the new Republican Tea Party, a Tea Party whose social recidivism is outdone only by its hostility to science and technology, innovation and scholarship. Led by a candidate whose views on women, you know them well, but I think it's fair to say are from another era. I mean, literally from another era. I think the motto of the Tea Party should be back to the future. Because think about it. Think about everything they're talking about. everything they're talking about. It's about undoing the progress that the vast majority of the American people think was progress. A candidate who was Attorney General sued one of the great, no, I really mean this is amazing to me. It really is amazing to me. Sued one of the great research universities in the world because three professors looking at science made a judgment he disagreed with. As my grandpa Finnegan would say, Thomas Jefferson's rolling over in his grave. No, think about what your state is known for. You all take it for granted when you're outside this state, what you're known for. This is antithetical to everything this great state has been known for throughout its history. You know, Mark, after the course you set for this great state, and I really mean it, you set this state on a course that is making it one of the research hubs of the world, a leader in innovation, science, and technology, a home of some of the leading academic and high-tech institutions in the world. Virginia, and what you've done for it, is rivaled only by the I-28 corridor of Massachusetts and Silicon Valley. And no, but it's a fact. You know, sometimes, you know, you say that so much, but it's a fact. And here's the generic point I want to make. Think about whether or not, with the attitude of Connolly and his ticket, if they were to win, what that will say to America and what that will do to attracting the continuation of this great tradition in the state. You know, they're going to need not only to eliminate the corporate income tax, they're going to have to give them stipends to come to this state. No, seriously, Mark will tell you. Corporations make judgments about where they are going to headquarters based on a lot more than the tax system, based on the education of the public, based on how sophisticated the public is, based upon the commitment of the state to innovation and change. These guys are the antithesis, the absolute antithesis of change and progress. Everything they talk about, without exaggeration, is about turning back what the rest of the country and the world thinks is progress. It's hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom this state being led by a man who rejects all that this new thinking stands for. So the whole nation is looking at this race. And again, that's not hyperbole. The whole nation is looking at this race. And folks, it comes down to you. It really is all about turnout. There's only one place the Tea Party can compete with us, and that is they do turn out their base. They do turn out those who share those views out of the 30s and 40s and 50s. They do, and that's what it is. So don't take this for granted, man. This is an off year. I know you're used to off-year elections, but an off-year election where the other side will generate every single solitary Tea Party sympathizer in this state. They will show up. So it's all up to you. It's up to you people in this backyard and backyards all across this great state. It's not hyperbole, it's a fact, because after all the TV ads and debates and everything else is done, this election is going to be decided by votes, people showing up, people getting driven to the polls. And what I don't want you to do, and I mean this sincerely, I've been hanging around a lot. I've seen races that were supposed to be walkaways, and they end up being decided by 300, 500 votes, 1,000 votes, 2,000 votes. Don't be one of those people who've worked all this time to elect Terry and this ticket. Don't be going to bed on Tuesday night thinking, if I had knocked on 10 more doors, if I had knocked on 20 more doors, if I had taken 5 more people to the polls. You don't want to be there. And you can't let the nation get there. Ladies and gentlemen, This choice is between someone who will govern in the tradition of Mark as well as Tim Kaine, and someone who wants to govern in what they hope to be a new tradition of Ted Cruz and the folks that are not even, I don't know how you put them on the spectrum. And I mean that sincerely. You remember, Ted Cruz just gave us the shutdown that Terry talked about. It cost the United States of America 120,000 new jobs in that short period of time. It cost the United States of America and American taxpayers $24 billion. And it hurt this state more than any other state in the Union. So the choice is between someone who trusts women to make their own decisions, someone who understands and trusts hard-working folks that if you give them a clear shot, they can do anything. Ladies and gentlemen, a guy he's running against is the loudest voice in America against health care for women and access to it. Choice between, if you could ever say it in any race I've been involved in, and I've been in a lot, between the mainstream and the extreme. That's what this choice is about. Ken Cuccinelli, one of the only attorney generals, was pointed out to not sign a letter on a consensus issue. When I wrote this law back in the early 90s, there was a lot of division. But over the years, there's absolute consensus, overwhelming consensus. And this guy decides the Violence Against Women Act is somehow violates some principle he holds. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view, that alone would disqualify from him being governor of this great state. Folks, you've heard it all before and you're getting chilly out there, but Terry's no ideologue. He's a practical guy. He's a businessman. He knows how to get things done. And he knows that it's all about not just jobs, but 6 out of 10 jobs in the next 10 years are going to require a degree beyond high school. 6 out of 10 new jobs. Terry understands that. That's why I always focus on education, infrastructure, technology. This is the last thing I want to say to you. The neighborhood Terry and his brothers come from is a middle-class neighborhood in a traditional sense. This is where he grew up. This is where he's lived. This is where initiative and hard work is rewarded. This is a guy, you've heard the story, it's almost like Abe Lincoln and, and splitting rails. But he really did. Started a driveway company as a kid to take care of himself and to take care of other people. You know, Terry knows what my dad repeated oft times. Terry mentioned my dad after, in the early 50s, there was no work in Scranton. Coal had petered out. There wasn't much up there, so we moved to Wilmington. And from that time on, whenever I hear somebody lost a job, my dad would say one thing. He'd turn to his kids, he'd say, Joey, remember one thing, and I mean this sincerely. A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about your respect. It's about your sense of yourself and your community. This guy feels that in his bones. That's why I unhesitatingly support him. I trust the guys who start off with the feeling in their gut, work it through their heart, and then can articulate it through their head. That's who this guy is. He's smart as hell. He's tough. He knows how to get things done. But at his root, it's all about his roots. It's all about the middle class. That's what built this country. And the entire future depends upon access to good jobs. And Mark Warner started the stampede here. Think of all of the high-tech, modern, incredibly innovative companies that are beating a path to the door of this great state, throughout the state. And imagine how it will slow their run to this state with a governor like Ken Cuccinelli. And I'm not commenting for the press on whether he's a good guy, bad guy, moral. He just has views that are completely antithesis to where this nation has to go. So folks, as I said, don't go to bed tomorrow night asking yourself, why didn't I do just a little bit more? It's important for the state of Virginia. It's important for the industries of Virginia. It's important for the defense industry in the state of Virginia. It's important to have a man who understands what's going to grow this state and this country. So folks, go get him. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.